We'll now introduce lesson 38, Introduction to the Hollow Verbs or the Middle Weak Verbs. A hollow verb or a middle weak verb is a verb that has as its middle letter either a yod or a vav rather than some other consonant. The hollow verbs do not retain the middle letter in the perfect and the participle, but preserve it as a semi-vowel in most other forms. So let's start off by looking at the Cal perfect, and the paradigm form is kum, where you have kof, vav with a shurik in the, this is actually the infinitive form that he gives you here, and the mem, but it does show the root, the vav in the root. But when you do the perfect, there is no vav. It's all just a vowel, come. He arose. Now what's actually going on here is the following. If the form were regular, you would expect it to be kawam, kawam. But that AW combination, AWA in this case, is unstable, and the whole thing collapses is what happens. The walls cave in, the middle stuff all collapses and just all goes to a long A vowel instead. And so you get come and then comma when the accent is receded. Compt in the second masculine singular, that should be comta actually. Another typo. So I just sent them a typo correction. And basically you get the kamats, or you get a pata if it's a closed syllable. And all of this is because the middle is collapsed and the vocalic vav has simply become a part of the vowel. The participle does the same thing. In theory, the participle would have looked something like this, a koem for the kof, vav, mem. But again, the just the OWE has collapsed, and when it collapses it becomes a long A, and you end up with the form com, which happens to be identical with the third masculine singular perfect. So you can't tell the difference between the masculine singular participle and the third masculine singular perfect. It's just a matter of context. And in certain contexts, you can actually go either way with that particular form. The singular participle is kama. That's also very similar to the third feminine singular, kamma. There is a difference in accent. If the accent's receded, it's a perfect. If it's on the last syllable, it would be a participle. And then the others forms just add the endings onto that stem. The masculine singular calactic participle, as we said, is identical, and so the form kam ha'ish and ha'ish hakam, you can distinguish here that you have the participle following, and it has the article he attached to it. The man, the standing one, the man who is standing. But the form kam ha'ish is probably a perfect, the man arose or stood. But you could actually use the participle, the man is standing, and it would have very much a similar meaning. The feminine singular participle, as we said, is very similar to the form in the perfect, except for the placement of the accent. There is a passive participle for the middle week. They're not very common. One that's used quite a bit is mul, to circumcise. Someone who is circumcised, the participle is mul. It shows up in that form, and the masculine plural would be mulim, circumcised men. Now, when you take the middle weeks and make them imperfect or jussive or preterite, there's also going to be a noticeable change, and it's going to depend on whether it's originally a middle yod or a middle vav verb as to exactly how it shows up. But the vav will show up in the imperfect forms as part of the vowel. So he will stand is yakum, and even though you would expect it to be yik vaim or something like that, or yikvam, but the vav or the wow has merged with the vowel, and there's been collapsing, and it's affected everything. So the form you end up with, and you just kind of have to learn it, is yakum. So when you see that shurk in the middle, that's an indication that is a cal imperfect middle week. Although I might note that if there happened to be a root yod kof mem, I don't know whether there is or isn't, but this would also be the passive participle form of that one. And then it goes on down the list. All the preformatives will have in most cases, will have a kamatz under them. In some cases, the kamatz will reduce to shava as the second feminine plural. The other thing that's a little strange is in the third feminine plural, where you get a yod thrown in for reasons I don't fully understand, to be honest. So the root is kum, but they, speaking of women, will arise, is pronounced takumena. Takumena. It reminds me of Japanese Hebrew. So you do get that form with a yod showing up out of nowhere, and don't ask me why. Now, if you have a second yod, instead of getting the shurik, you'll get a hirik yod vowel. The verb sim means to place, yasim means he will place, and tasim, she will place or you will place. Tasimi is you lady will place, and so on and so forth. And again, in the third feminine plurals and the second feminine plurals, the vowel reduces to shava. Now, with the jussives of these forms, you do get a slight modification. So instead of yakum, the imperfect, you get yakom. Slight change of vowel. O's and U's interchange in this language fairly easily, and so you go from a long U vowel to a long O vowel, yakom. And with the yasim, he will set her place. The jussive let him set her place, or may he set her place, becomes yasem. So instead of a hirik yod, you get a sere, and goes from a long I to a long E. Now, cal jussives may be further shortened if followed by a makef. So let's say you're adding the emphatic particle na, which means please, or I pray you, or just adds a little umph to it. But you end up with yakomna, with a kamatz hatuf in this position. Yakomna, accent at the very end it should be. Or with yasem, With the accent shifting, it goes from a long E sere to a short E sagol because now it's an unaccented closed syllable. And unaccented closed syllables require a short vowel. So here a list of some of the forms. Yakum, he will arise. Vayakom, again that's a kamatz hatuf. And he arose, and then yakom, let him arise. And then with seem, you get yasim, he will set or place. Vayesem, vayasem, I should say, and he set. And then yasem, let him set. The imperative of hollow verbs are same as the imperfects when you drop the T. So if you take the imperfect form takum, drop the T, you get kum. And feminine singular is takumi, you get kumi. And the only one that's a little different is the feminine plural, where you don't just drop the T, but it goes to a simpler form without the Japanese Hebrew style. But anyway, the masculine plural, you guys arise, is kumu, and then komna would be the feminine plural. And seem, you get the heric yod in the imperative form, in masculine singular and feminine singular and the masculine plural, but when you add the na ending, it changes to a sere. The infinitive construct is the dictionary form kum and seem. And you could add preposition la to it, and if you do, the la is vocalized with a kamatz. So lakum is preposition la to, and then arise, or lasim is to, with the infinitive place, to place. And to those you can add pronominal suffixes. My arising is kumi. Your masculine singular rising is kumudka. And similarly with seem, though here it shows up with a shurik when you add the suffixes, probably by influence of the middle vav forms. The form of the infinitive absolute for kum is kom. So if you say kom yakumu, that would mean yakumu is they will arise, but then the kom would make it more emphatic. They will surely arise. They will surely stand. Now, like other verbs, you can add pronominal suffixes to these. And so if you have yasim to set or place, yasim would be he will set or place. But then you could make object suffix ka and attach it. If you attached it, well, the ka would be added, but that will make the kamatz under the yod propretonic, and it reduces to shabah. So you get a yasim ka. He will place you. He will set you. And same thing with the other middle weeks. You can have that kind of adjustment. We'll continue this in the next video.